Hello, beautiful mamas, and welcome to the Unstoppable Mom Summit, where we're going to help you step up, break free, and thrive. So, today I am so excited to have this beautiful mama with us today because she has a story that I believe some of you all may have, or you may kind of understand it from a certain standpoint. But what I want to do is introduce Miss Heidi. Hi, Heidi.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
I am happy to have you because your story, just connecting with you, has, for me, has just been amazing. Hearing your journey and how it has empowered you to be right here where you are right now, and also for the journey that you're taking. Like, I'm just so excited just watching you on social media and actually hearing from you personally has really, for me, has created this sense of, okay, we have to get this stuff out here. It's urgent.
Mm.
And it seems like for you, there's also a sense of urgency. So before I get too far into that, first off, let me say thank you so much for being here. And second, can you kind of just tell the mamas here a little bit about yourself before we dive into all the questions?
Yeah. Well, I'm Heidi Lynne. I'm a pleasure strategist, and I help high achieving women just break unfulfilling relationship cycles so that way they can feel good being themselves and calling in soul aligned love that they desire and deserve without chasing, fixing, or settling. And yeah, it started a long time ago. So Denise, you want me to go back into my story and how we are where we are today?
Well, it's up to you. I don't see a reason that you can't because I believe that it will resonate with a lot of our mamas. So I say go for it.
Yeah, okay. So my journey was not linear. It started out, I just say like it started out in childhood, and I ran away from home when I was 17 years old. My family was alcoholics. I said, no, I didn't want that. Little did I know I was running into the arms of my future abuser. He was coated with what looked like very happy love and security, which it wasn't. And so we were together for about 11 years. We had a kid together, and it was September 2014 when I ended up just calling that relationship quits, because through the entire length of a relationship, it was just emotional abuse. Then it eventually turned to physical abuse. My daughter, who was a year and a half old at the time, had witnessed some things that she shouldn't have witnessed. No child should ever have to witness anything like that. And so it kind of just hit my breaking point and said, enough is enough. I'm done. And so I walked out with a bag of just essentials and my baby on my hip and said, we're done. And I went into a women's shelter, stayed there for like 4 months, rebuilt my life from the ground up, right? And started fresh and new. I ended up in a new relationship. It seemed very loving and supportive. And he was very loving and supportive, but there was like something under the surface. I couldn't quite tell what it was. And in a few years we were together, he ended up overdosing from a secret opiate addiction, and nearly died in my arms. And so that was like my awakening. I was like, oh God, like I've been so focused on everybody else. I haven't been focusing on me. And at that time, we had a son together. So I was just like, I can't do this. Like, my kids cannot be around this and or be thinking like this is how relationships work, kind of that. And so it started, really, that moment was my awakening moment to start my transformation, like my journey, my healing journey, really digging in, trying to figure out, okay, I got to like focus on me, but what does that mean? I have to heal. What does that mean? And I tried therapy in the past, but it just wasn't ever, it didn't really ever resonate for me. So I kind of just felt like I was just figuring this out solo. And then fast forward 2 years, and then my partner and I realized, he became the man of my dreams. I said, like, as long as you are on your healing, just as long as you are investing and showing me you're committed to healing and recovering, and I'll stay with you. But as soon as you stop putting in effort, I'm gone with the kids, because we can't be doing that, right? So then it was, we stayed together, worked together, healed together. And then now I'm like, oh my gosh, I have my dream partner. It's amazing. And so it's like, I am so thankful that I was able to go through that, go through the healing journey, and now my mission is to help women break the relationship, unfulfilling relationship cycle, so they too can find their soul aligned love.
So first off, thank you so much for being vulnerable because I know that it's so hard for us to be that way sometimes. But when we realize, like you realized, that what you went through is not just isolated to yourself, you realize, hey, I've got to do something. I've got to share this. I've got to help more women, more moms. And so I want to ask you, when you had that realization, like what were the first steps that you took to heal and pretty much bring the focus back to you?
Yeah. Well, I felt like I was grasping at straws. Like I didn't really have a roadmap, so I was kind of just winging it a lot. But what I started, I looked back over my journey. I just wrote a book, and so you guys will be gifted part of the book, like important chapters of this book. But in it, I have laid the framework down. When I was looking back, and I was like, okay, what was it that I did? What have I learned that was instrumental into helping me get to where I was? And so basically, it's you've gotta first you've got to you have to recognize how you saw relationship from a young age, because I think like that awareness is so key, is just understanding if you keep attracting the same type of relationship, different body, different face, but essentially it's the same. I'm going to guarantee it started somewhere in childhood, this belief about how relationships work or how you're supposed to be loved. Okay. So, okay, cool. So I know, Denise, you had said before, like you express like, awareness is key, right? Like you have to know where you're at in a relationship and kind of like a pattern, right? So it's kind of like just bringing the awareness. So identifying those relationship patterns, also understanding like what is your core wound? Like, do you feel like you're not worthy enough? Do you feel like you're not good enough? Like you're not lovable? Because a lot of times when we are um, keep attracting these unfulfilling things in general in life, it's kind of just mirrored back to us. And so it helps us look deeper into ourselves, to introspect and figure out what is going on inside. What is this belief I have about myself, and about how relationships work. And so there can be a lot of insight into that. So a lot of times what I found working with women and myself was a wound of I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy. And so that ends up being reflected back through the relationships that we have. Unfortunately, it's like we subconsciously seek that out, and because it's familiar, but not necessarily because it's healthy, and not because we're actually conscious of it. It's really it's fascinating. Like it just happens just subconsciously. We're just in this cycle, until we have awareness about our patterns, about our habits, beliefs, and then we can start to kind of break that cycle.
That is so good. So, yes, awareness is key, mamas. Like, until we are truly aware of what's going on or where we are mentally and where we are emotionally, it's kind of hard to move forward. So, Heidi, thank you so much for saying that because we cannot move anywhere without being aware of where we are. We cannot go anywhere. We can't put some directions in our phone or address in our phone and expect that to take us somewhere. We don't enable our location, it has to know where we are, and we have to know where we are in order to get to the next level. So that's powerful. So let me ask you this because I'm a person who always talks about boundaries. And it's funny because at the time when I first was implementing them, I didn't know there was a name for it. I was just doing it, I was consciously doing it, but I was unaware of what I was consciously doing. But for a lot of people, it can be very challenging. And I know in your journey that you had to put boundaries there once you became aware of what was going on. So how did you continue as you started to set your boundaries and change things in your own life?
Yeah, boundaries was hard. But because I had been taught, whether it was verbal or nonverbal, probably more nonverbal than anything from my childhood, was that boundaries didn't exist for me. And so I would always bend over backwards, self-compromise, trying to keep the peace, trying to make other people happy. And so it was really difficult to try to even feel like I was capable of having boundaries in a lot of ways. And I had a huge mindset shift. I was going through life coach training and we were talking about boundaries. And so it was like boundaries are healthy and they teach other people how to treat you. And I was like, whoa, like that was huge. And so once I started realizing that I'm not selfish for having boundaries, I was like, oh my gosh, set me free. Like, but it wasn't necessarily easy to do because if you are in a habit of, bending over backwards, of keeping the peace, you're walking on eggshells to avoid upsetting other people, um, it can be very challenging to try to instill any boundaries. But I can tell you that once you start implementing them and you're like, okay, this is my boundary, then it gets better with practice, and the more you practice, the better you get. And I would say too that this is a core thing. This is super foundational to anything, is really understanding who you are at your core and what your core values are, because those core values are going to help you set up your boundaries, to help you know what your boundaries are. So I think like it's extremely important to make a list of all of your values, at least all of your values, and then highlight at least like the top 5. So that way you can keep coming back and be like, am I living my life in alignment with my values? Does this relationship, is this in alignment with my values, or am I compromising myself on my values to try to fit in this relationship and make this relationship work? And that is super huge.
Oh, yes, it is. Like, that's amazing. And a lot of people don't talk about this. And unfortunately, some of us have had to pay lots of money to hear this from coaches to let us know that you have values somewhere. Figure out what they are, because once you align your boundaries with your values, things really start to shift. So, thank you for that. And also, I want to know, once you got to that point, where you're like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put in boundaries, but I want to make sure I'm checking my value system in accordance with my boundaries. Like, what was the next step that you decided to take to actually really start to see some momentum in that change?
Um, I would say just being, just being consistent, having grace with myself in this process. And also, there was a really instrumental piece to my whole healing process. And I don't think people speak of it enough. And I'm going to say that it is forgiveness. And that, like, it revolutionized my entire life because, um, I had thought of the word forgiveness as in like, like a 4-letter word for a long time. And I'm like, why should I forgive? Why should I forgive my ex for doing what he did to me? Why should I forgive my parents for treating me the way they did? And then once I realized it's not about them, and it's not to condone what somebody else did to you. It's really a tool to be able to help you let everything go. And I know that some people can struggle with this concept of forgiveness, but again, it is the one of the most powerful things. And they say that once you can forgive, it changes your whole energetic system. It's like you've just released like resentment, anger, guilt. And there's a frequency chart. I think his name is David Hawkins, had created this frequency chart based on emotions. And so what I teach is basically like once you can forgive and you can get out of those lower frequencies, like it starts out at the bottom, like the lower frequencies it's the energy within inside our body, like anger, guilt, resentment. I think guilt is actually one of the lower ones, but shame, things like that. So like once you can process those emotions and get out of that, your body starts to literally go up in an energetic frequency. So we're working towards the vibration of love and gratitude. And once you can get into that state, it's like just magic happens. And so forgiveness helps you get out of those lower vibrational states. It helps you literally release all of that negative energy from your body so you can elevate and start calling in your dream partner and your everything that you want ideally, but like you'll be on that match for that person that is meant for you.
Look, that is so good. So when you said that, I'm glad you were talking about the different levels of your energy. And a lot of people refer to chakra, which is pretty much the same thing. So if you know anything about chakra, it's very similar. But the thing here that got me, it made me think of something. So I remember doing my daughter's hair years ago, and she was playing Minecraft, and she wasn't in creative mode, she was in the survival mode. And it's funny because I believe that when we are in the lower areas, such as like with the guilt, the frustration, the anger, the unforgiveness, it's more like we're in survival mode and you
Mhm.
cannot create in survival mode. And she was like, oh, I've got to get out of this. I don't like survival mode. I want to be in creative mode. And so she got out of
Mm,
that. She calmed down and then she went to creative mode. And that's just a good way to kind of to put it to help you kind of see how that actually affects you. And it's funny because not funny, haha, but ironic that when we are stressed or feeling things like that, it normally affects us our health negatively. So not only just our energy, it doesn't just affect how we feel, but it affects how our bodies are. Like what happens to them? Are they healthy? Are they not healthy? Are they diseased or are they not diseased? Sorry, I can keep going on about that one. But look,
yeah.
I want to say thank you for that.
Yeah, no, and I love that analogy, that metaphor you use. Like that is so true. I had full body chills when you were explaining that. It's like you're in survival mode. Like literally, that's the frequency you're operating at, and that's what you're gonna keep attracting into your life. So like when you're in creative mode, it's also like you're like it's creative mode. It's like it was like a shift in energy even as you said that, and it's like it's more free. You're able to create, and it's a lighter vibe, less pressure, right? Like my kids are obsessed with Minecraft, so I'm just learning. But yeah, it's kind of like that makes a lot of sense. And so I loved how you said that.
Thank you. And it's funny because that's when I believe I started learning about the different energy shifts shortly before she started playing Minecraft. And then when she said that, it just sunk and stayed. It sunk and stayed with me from there on. But I do want to know because like that was amazing. Like mamas, if you don't take anything else away from this, get in touch with your emotions, get in touch with your energy level because our energy level, it pretty much precedes us, right? When you say that, and not
Yeah,
only does it precede us, but it feeds our entire house. Wherever we go, it goes with us. And it can be felt by our kids, whether we want to believe that or not. We can tell them one thing, but they're going to feel what's really going on with us.
absolutely. They tell me they're like, if mom's in not a good mood, the rest of the house isn't in a good mood. And it's not because I'm trying to make everybody life like hell. It's not like I'm not going on a terror. It's just like they can feel that emotion from me if I'm not in a good mood. And so, yeah, it speaks.
Yeah. And without us saying a thing, it's going to speak and it's going to speak loudly. And that's the
Yeah.
truth.
And
So,
also too, for everybody, part of the summit, with my gift, there's a part of the book that I am sharing as far as like the energy and how energy works, and kind of and it goes into the chart too that I was talking about. So it's really like, yes, very important that you get in touch with that, because also too, your thoughts also create your energetic state as well. So a lot of the thoughts that we're thinking are on a subconscious level, like traumas from childhood or, different parts of our life. And, a lot of us are really good at suppressing that emotion. And so those emotions live in our body and we keep going along every single day. We're not really thinking about it. Meanwhile, those thoughts are going on, which is an energy, it's a vibration. So if we're still stuck in, resentment, guilt, and fear, whatever, from yesterday or years ago, we've put it away and we don't think about it anymore, it's so important to start to kind of get more in touch with that. And that's why I was saying forgiveness is so huge. I had to go through a forgiveness process with my ex-husband, with my partner who overdosed, with myself for the guilt and shame and anger I had for me for letting that happen. And so it's so powerful.
that's so good. Thank you for that. So yes, we're going to make sure that they get their hands on that. But I do want to ask you something because I know that you have like a little I guess like some steps or something that you'd like to share with them? Because you were talking about how you have been working to heal yourself, and how it had like huge impact on your relationship. But for our listeners who may be in a similar situation, what are the key steps that they can start taking today so that they can start shifting from just surviving, from being in survival mode in their love life to manifesting an actual healthy and fulfilling relationship? Because who just wants a bah humbug relationship, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And so the steps, it's kind of like what I touched on, it's like you need to have love. So you need to cultivate a self-love. And I know it's thrown around a lot these days, but it's so important. You have to be able to love yourself and stop focusing on everybody else, because it's like once your cup is full, it can overflow and you can be the mom you want to be. You can be the partner you want to be. You're so much more in tune with yourself, and you have more value because your self love comes from knowing your value that you offer. And so then it just emanates into everything else. And that's when you're able to confidently set your boundaries. But also, I would say there's a really key step that I think a lot of people don't really talk about. And this is identity shifting. And it's it sounds big, but it doesn't have to be big. But there's a process. Again, this isn't a gift I'm sharing, but there's this process that you go through, that you identify your current self, and then you identify who's your future self, like who is you 2.0 that you want to be. So then you have to go through, literally have to get real raw and honest with where you are right now, all your habits, beliefs, how you're showing up in the relationships, in the world, as a mother, in friendships, things like that. And so then you kind of get an analysis of like how you're showing up, right? And then you do you start to identify like, who is she, who is this version of you would ideally love to be, and start to identify all those thoughts, beliefs, patterns, habits, ways that she shows up in the world, ways that she handles conflict, just being among other people. And so you start to really start identify where those two identities are out of congruence, where they're not congruent. And you're like, okay, well, I have to let this go. This isn't a part of my 2.0 self. And I need to start and have like showing up in this new way, like, however that is. And so it's a process, but that is really key, because everything comes down to our identity, our beliefs. I call it our energetic blueprint, our thoughts, beliefs, and energy that we show up in the world. And so once you start to reprogram that, your life will literally change, and your love life, of course, will change as well.
Ah, that was amazing. So you said self-love, and I am so huge on that. And yes, that word gets thrown around so much, but you would agree that we actually take better care of things that we actually love. And one of the best ways to actually love yourself is to, like you said, learn yourself, figure out who you are now, and then figure out, well, who do I want to be? You don't have to be stuck right where you are. Just be aware of that. I love that.
Yeah.
So let me
Yeah.
ask
Thank
you
you.
this. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I was just thinking of like the other things. And so like I would say just like the identity thing is just really important. Um Also knowing what are red flags, because so often we ignore red flags, we make excuses for them. We let other people tell us how we should behave in a relationship. I was that way. And so if you become aware of red flags, I think that's also going to be really helpful. And also understanding what is an ideal relationship as well. Like, what does a healthy relationship look like? Because I think a lot of people don't know what every healthy relationship looks like. And so that is really important. And also, too, I'm going to say this: visualization is so important. So, if nothing else, take away from this, like, start visualization can start reprogramming your subconscious mind. So tonight, okay, so I really want you to start implementing this. Don't, I mean, it's great to know, but you got to start implementing it to actually see results, right? So one of the most powerful things you can do is start to identify what is that ideal relationship for you look like? Like, what does it feel like? What does it look like? How are you treated? Things like this, and start writing out your dream relationship as if you are already living it. Like, I am enjoying my dream relationship and this, however it feels for you, but you really want to key in on the emotional state of that, because that's going to, again, raise your vibration. It's going to make you feel good. And if you read that in the morning, so you have your little, I call it scripting, or people call it scripting, right? You write your scripting letter, you read it first thing in the morning before you get out of bed, before you look at your phone, because your brain is in a it's in a theta brainwave state, because you're just waking up out of sleep, and so your brainwave state's changing, so you are more susceptible to suggestion. So then your brain literally cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So this is like the perfect time to start reprogramming your subconscious mind. So then you want to read your letter before you do anything. You can go to the bathroom, but come right back to bed, start reading them. And then right before you fall asleep, do the same thing. Start reading your letter, start getting emotionally involved in it, start feeling it to be real, and do that for at least 30 days. And don't waver on this. And this is probably like the most important piece of all of this, is to start reprogramming your subconscious mind, is to do this piece, and then you'll start to see things shift.
I love that. And let me ask you this, because I don't know if you would say yes or no. So I would love your take on this. So I have in the past created actual videos of myself talking with images on YouTube for those days that I can't just get up and read, but I can always pop it in my ear and listen to it. Do you think that they could turn their script into maybe a audio or type of audio visual type thing?
Yes, 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 yes. So I think if you pair those two together, that's powerful. Like, if you write it out, there's some things to be said about writing it. You get it from your brain. You have this connection to it in your writing, in your letter. But there's also power too to when you hear your own voice saying it to yourself. Like, that can also reprogram your mind. So you can fall asleep listening to yourself talking about um, this ideal relationship or life that you're creating as well. Or, as you're waking up in the morning, put those things in, put your headphones in, start doing that thing. Doesn't have to be very long. It can be a few minutes. It can be 5 minutes. It can be as long as you want it to be, as long as you're getting into the feeling of, like, you feel it real. Like, you're like, oh, like, it has a positive emotional change to your state. Like, it should make you feel really good. Like, oh my gosh, like, when you're done, you should be like, okay, I'm surprised that this isn't my life right now. Because then you're like so immersed into this vision and into this, um, yeah, just into this vision that you're creating.
I love it. And it gives you this little place of happy. And we actually perform better. We live better. We are better when we're in a happy state, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, you're more magnetic when you're happy. So it's very
That's the truth. Well, when you're not happy, you're kind of magnetic, but to the wrong things. But
true. That is true. Yep.
when you're happy, you're bringing in those things that you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love this. So I better ask you this before we tell our beautiful mama see you later. Is there one more thing that you want to make sure that they do not leave here without or with?
Mm. Ah, I would say just really, I I can't. What's coming up for me is to stress the importance of forgiveness. Like, forgiveness is key. I don't think I have anything else really to add that would be more powerful than what I've just shared, because I've picked out all the best things to share here in our short time. But yes, forgiveness is so important, and so if you can, and the reason why I say it is so important is because it's like you're. I think a lot of times when we are living in a state of mind of guilt, anger, resentment, shame, it is a invisible prison. Like, we have shackles on, right? So when you go through this process of forgiveness, you're like taking the shackles off. You're setting yourself free, quite literally, energetically, emotionally, mentally. And so that is the most powerful thing I think you could do for yourself.
Ah, I love that. Oh my gosh. So I have this question. Okay, because
Yes.
I don't want them to not be able to forgive themselves for not taking you up on this offer. What is the
Okay.
freebie that you have for our ladies that's going to be right below this video? What do you have for 'em?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I am so excited for this gift, you guys. I just wrote this book called Magnetic AF: The Energetic Blueprint to Track the Relationship You Actually Want. And I've picked out, I think, the most important chapters of that book to help you really call in the soul aligned love that you deserve and that you desire.
I love that. I love that. And I know that this is probably not perfect for this, but I know that you are in the process of planning a retreat. And I just want to make sure that the mamas who hear that, well, the mamas here who are listening to you and are like, oh my gosh, she is talking my language, so that they would know, hey, I need to stay in contact
Mm.
with her. So, how can they stay in contact with you so that they can hear all about it?
Yes, so I have actually in the resource, I have linked my my Facebook, YouTube, and my website as well. So that way you can stay connected and learn more about the retreat as it evolves. It's going to be life changing. I am so excited. Like we're gonna have it's oh my gosh, I don't know if you want to go into detail about it, but like it is gonna be life changing. I'm so excited.
I mean, if you want to, I say go for it because when I saw your post on Facebook today, I was like, or was it yesterday? I can't remember, but I was so excited. It's like, wait, I think I might want to go.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so it's going to be a luxurious experience. Like you're going to show up, arrive from the airport. You're going to be whisked away to the retreat space in a limousine. It's going to be on the Oregon coast in the it's a lush rainforest along the ocean line, and it is just going to be so amazing. It's going to be 3 days, and it's going to have chef curated meals to ensure that you're in energetic alignment for this healing transformation that you're going through. It's going to be horseback riding on the beach, kayaking, and more importantly, there's going to be, I'm calling in a group of specialists, hypnotherapist, somatic experiencing practitioner, sound healer. I'm a Reiki practitioner and coach. So then there's just going to be like this immersive experience, 3 days of cellular healing. Like you can't experience this through the internet. So it's like that's why I'm like I was going to do like 5 months, and then I had a divine download the other day when I was finishing my book. It was like, "No, Heidi, this is supposed to be lived, supposed to be experienced. It's supposed to be cellular, like life-changing on a literal cellular level." And so that's what we're going to be doing, and I'm like getting goosebumps as I'm talking about it because my soul just won't quit. It won't let me stop moving in this direction. Now I've like
Oh,
had this download, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, it's going to be amazing. So anyways, so stay tuned more about that as it evolves. I'm planning it, yeah, later this year, but my goal is to make this a regular event for women so they can literally have just life-changing experience.
I love that. So I love it. So I'm hoping, so beautiful mamas, if you're on the other end and this sounds like something you need, because it's one thing to be healed, just on a just as your body being healed, but on the cellular level, like that's just like amazing. And not a lot of us get the chance to get there. And she is offering the opportunity to get there. And like you said, Heidi, it's hard to do that virtually sometimes, right?
Yeah, yeah. And even, and even in person. And the thing that I think that it's going to be really powerful because we're going to have healing specialists come in that are skilled in their area of expertise, but it's also going to be so powerful because you're going to be immersed in this experience with sisters. You're going to be experiencing this with women who are experiencing the same thing. So you can build lifelong friendships and go through this like sacred experience, being witnessed, being seen, and just having the support from all angles.
Oh, I love that. Another one of the speakers for the summit, she was talking about how, how we always talk about self-care. And she talks about how self-care is not really meant for you to do it by yourself. You should have
Mhm.
a community. And hearing you say that there are going to be people there like you and you can form a community, like that's perfect. It's like a cherry on the top of a delicious milkshake.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly.
Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing all of this with our beautiful mamas, and I want to thank you for that freebie. I'm going to download that, but I'm also going to make sure that I get a copy of that book, and who knows, maybe we can turn that into some kind of a giveaway. We shall see.
Okay, all right, that
For
sounds
sure.
good.
Well, beautiful ladies, we want to say thank you so much for being a part of this. And please know that you're going to have a action step plan. It's going to be either below this video or somewhere in the Facebook group, or if you have the course section, it'll be in there for you as well. So go find those action steps and make sure that you take those today if you want to see a shift in your life. Because I know you didn't come here just to be the same, you came here for change. And I know you're going to have it after this. But as usual, we will see you next time. And don't forget, I love you to life. See you next time.
Bye.